Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Change of Shift podcast. I am your host, Sean. I am running this one solo. My wonderful co-host is out punching the clock, saving lives. So, as podcasters will often do, we can't go more than several days without posting a podcast or talking to our wonderful microphone. So, here I am running solo. I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about nursing conferences. Once again, got to talk about our disclaimer. All of our podcast episodes are recorded using the Blab IM platform. So I record them through the Blab platform, and then we post them to our feed post-production, and they filter out through various platforms. So if you are listening to this post-production, thank you so much for the download. If you're coming to us live, you're going to have to tolerate my talking. I will do my best if we have some guests that are interested in asking questions to answer them. And for those of you who are listening to this post-production, I'll do my best to explain what's going on. So let's get right to the show. This is going to be one of those mini podcasts, short and to the point. We might be doing a few of these in the near future here. My wonderful co-host and I, living the full-time lives that we do have outside of our podcast show, have some pretty busy weeks ahead of us. Holidays are going to be tough. So you could be listening to me or Emily here and there. Also having some difficulties nailing down some good dates for interviews. We have plenty of guests that we're interested in that have accepted interviews. Unfortunately, we can't seem to have the stars aligned so that we can actually agree or be available on the same date. So some of these future interviews that we have or are interested in having, we may very well be conducting them with either myself alone, or maybe Emily could be conducting them on her own. So one way or another, we will press on. Today's topic: nursing conference recap and FAQs. Facts, FAQs. For those of you who do not follow me or don't know me out there on the internets, I spent last week in Las Vegas. Woohoo! Yes, was in Las Vegas for a nursing conference. So a little bit of work, a little bit of play. It was my first nursing conference where I actually took a trip. I've been to nursing conferences before. I've been to several weekend conferences, but they've always been relatively local, so that I only had to drive somewhere, or maybe stay over in a hotel one night, maybe stay with a friend, but never actually got into a plane, took a trip to a conference, stayed in a hotel, took a plane back home. I was in Vegas for 5 days. Yes, 5 days. And it was an experience. It was not my first time in Vegas. I had been to Vegas 10 years prior, so it's been a whopping 10 years since I showed up in Vegas, into the city that never sleeps. And I must say, not a darn thing has changed. It's still the same. I am not a big Vegas fan. Sorry, my fellow listeners and fans. Not a gambler. And if I had to pick 5 things about my Vegas trip, let's rewind a little bit here. So I seem to be getting off track already. As always, we like to start off our show with a recap of last episode. The last episode that we have published is our interview with Kate Erickson. She is the content manager over at Entrepreneurs on Fire, eofire.com, with John Lee Dumas. Emily and I invited her on to the show to talk to our nursing colleagues and our healthcare fans, healthcare listeners, to try and gain some insight on living out our dreams, tackling challenges, and pursuing our dreams, whether that be in nursing or in another field. Talked a little bit about failure. We talked a little bit about Kate's book called The Fire Path. Most, if not everything that Kate referred to had to deal with entrepreneurialism. Is that even a word? Entrepreneurialism? And the parallels that she made between being an entrepreneur and being a nurse or being someone in the healthcare field were quite enlightening. Needless to say, after last episode's interview, I am 100% convinced that any and all nurses out there could, if they so desired, could pursue becoming an entrepreneur, because everything that is required of you in order to become a successful entrepreneur are the same requirements that are required of you to succeed and or excel in our profession. So it was a stroke of luck, and it was fate that Kate was able to join us and to share her thoughts, her experiences, and her knowledge in regards to fulfilling your dreams. So it was a quick interview. Kate is a very busy woman, but we utilized our time as best we could. And of course, Sean, yes, myself, I had internet issues again. Have no idea why. The internet gods were just not wanting to cooperate with me. I was on again, off again, on again, off again. I think I was off the show more than I was on the show. And I must commend my co-host, Emily, for doing such an amazing job, for maintaining some sense of control in an environment that I could not control in any way. So thus is the risk that we run hosting our podcast via the internet live video stream Blab IM platform. Without further ado, back to the current episode, talking about me and my trip to Vegas. 5 things that I took away from my trip to Vegas. Number 1, Vegas is still big. It's as big as it's ever been. I didn't memorize the layout, but all of the things that I remembered are still just as big. And there are things there that are even bigger. Number 2, I still don't gamble. I'm sorry. I'm not a gambler. I don't even like sacrificing my quarter or penny into the quarter penny slot machines. I've earned every penny that I have. And if I'm going to give over the money that I've earned, I want to get something in return. I don't want to wait $20, $50, $100 later and say, gee, that was fun, and get nothing out of it. So if I'm going to spend money, I want something out of it, whether that be a full belly or a exciting trip or a cool toy, a cool app. If I'm going to spend my money, I'm going to get something in return. Sorry, it's just me. I consider Vegas to be that bright, shiny object. My co-host wrote a awesome short blog post many moons ago, and it was titled ADO BSO. It was all about bright, shiny objects and attention deficit disorder. ADO BSO. Attention deficit. Ooh, bright, shiny object. And that's what I feel Vegas is all about. ADO BSO. Attention deficit. Ooh, bright, shiny object. It's the modern day, hey, look, a squirrel kind of environment. And it just really is just not for me. Truly did enjoy the sights, walked down the strip, but that was about as far as it went. Number 4, first class is the bomb diggity. I have only flown first class in maybe 3 times in my life. I don't know if this was number 3. Maybe this was number 4. I had the opportunity to upgrade at a fairly affordable rate. And let me tell you, holy cow, does it make your flying experience so much different. Legroom, comfy seats, had to be able to watch TV, movies, got to plug in my devices and charge my iPhone and my laptop. The list is endless. I actually refused the complimentary drinks. I didn't really need the complimentary food. It was just that seat and that legroom. Da bomb diggity. If I ever get the chance, and I've already told my wife, we need to save money on our next trip, and we need to go first class. I know, lofty dreams. And finally, the 5th and final thing I've taken away from my Vegas trip is that jet lag sucks. Let me say that again. Jet lag sucks. That's all I'm going to say about that. So, on to the topic at hand. Talk about nursing conferences. My thoughts on nursing conferences. And these thoughts are based on not only the conference that I just attended, but also on previous conferences that I've attended. Now, once again, I have disclosed that this is the first quote unquote big conference that I've been to. So I don't really have a whole lot to compare it to. I must say that the other big conference that I was supposed to go to, but wasn't able to go to for one reason or another, was the AACN's NTI, annual NTI. It's probably one of the biggest nursing conferences around, if not the biggest nursing conference when I'm in regards to the nursing profession. And I was very disappointed that I didn't get to go to that this year. It was in San Diego, of all places. I think it's in New Orleans next year, but sadly, I don't think I'm going to have the funds to drop myself there next year. So, 5 things that I have to say in regards to nursing conferences. Number 1, and I have to put this as number 1 for those of you who know me, for those of you who follow me out there in the social media world. Number 1 is keep the coffee flowing. I don't care what kind of conference this is. Keep the coffee flowing. At the end of the day, it's a conference. I'm going to be sitting and listening to speakers for the better part of the day with breaks here and there, lunch breaks, refreshment breaks. I need my coffee. Keep the coffee flowing. That's all I'm going to say about that. Second thing, keep things moving. If there's a delay for some crazy reason, whether it's a technical issue, AV issue, is there something going on in the room, something in the adjacent room, is it a weather problem? Take your pick. But you gotta think in terms of how do we keep things moving, because when I pay for a conference, I don't want to be sitting there for hours on end wondering what's going on. Use your imagination. Keep things moving. Number 3, and this is in regards to the conference that I just attended, is that you need to keep me engaged. And what I mean by that is that if you are a presenter, you are a speaker at a conference. If you're presenting a topic, talking about a topic, and you look into the audience and you see a bunch of snoozers leaning their heads down, people sleeping, or you find that half of the audience is either coming or going for one reason or another, because I don't know about you, but not everybody has to go to the bathroom all at the same time. So intermittently people going in and out of the conference is one thing. Everybody has other things to take care of, phone calls, filling up the refreshments because you're going to keep the coffee flowing. But when half of the room is gone during your presentation, that should be a red flag. Also, during your presentation, you get no interaction, you get no feedback from your audience, meaning you ask a question or you tell a joke or you throw out some sarcasm and there's no interaction. Nobody laughs at your joke. Nobody reacts to your sarcasm. Nobody answers your question. There's no hands raised or buttons pushed. If nobody responds to your interaction, that's another red flag. And ultimately, and I sent this out as a status update during the conference this past week, is that just because you're an expert in your field doesn't make you a good speaker. Sorry to say. When I'm at a conference and I start getting the feeling that I'm back in school and someone's giving me a lecture, yeah, I didn't pay money for you to give me a lecture. I paid money for you to give me some piece of content that I can take away with me, that I can take back with me to my practice. So it has to be engaging. I have to take something from this. Now, just because you're giving me material that I already know, that is commonplace or that, is common knowledge, that doesn't mean that there can't be some engagement somehow. Give me your spin on it. It doesn't matter one way or another. There's got to be a give and take. I didn't pay the money to come to a conference so that I can listen to you lecture about your expertise. I can get that out of a book. I can go listen to that on a webinar. I paid money, a lot of money. These things aren't cheap, to come and get interaction, engagement. I say it over and over again, engagement. Okay, going to get off my soapbox now. Excuse me while I step down. That was number 3. Number 4, keep me informed. I don't want to show up at a breakout session that I scheduled ahead of time. I scheduled this conference months in advance, and there was a breakout session. You get to choose from multiple breakout sessions, meaning that there's multiple sessions going on at once, and you get to choose one because that's the topic interests you more than topic B does. So I'm going to go to topic A. And when I show up on that day to go listen to topic A and it's canceled, there should have been some sort of communication in some way, shape, or form prior to me showing up on the doorstep or at the entranceway. Communication, email, announcements during, refreshment breaks, something. You got to communicate with your audience. Got to communicate with the people that paid money to come to your conference. All right. Lastly, final, number 5. Why would I want to come back? Give me a reason to come back. Paid the money, flight, hotel, came in, listened to your lectures, days on days on days, hours on hours on hours of lectures. What's the reason I'm going to come back next year? Because traditionally, your conferences in general, are offered on a yearly basis. They're annual because you have to garner the funds. You got to find the proper venue. You have to recruit and find the talented individuals who are going to speak at your conference. What is it that's going to get me to come back next year? There's got to be something. It's got to be that hook, Don't just tell me that, same time next year, we're going to talk about the same topics, advancing your practice, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to sleep on that one. Give me a reason to come back. All right. Moving on to the last section of the episode. Talked a little bit about my Vegas trip and what I took away from my Vegas trip. Once again, did I mention that first class is the bomb diggity? Okay. Yes, bomb diggity. Second topic we talked about was my generalized thoughts on conferences. On my conference. And the last topic, section, thought, the last thoughts I have in regards to this particular show is just some FAQs, some frequently asked questions that I think I'm not the only one. Maybe I am, I don't know. But here's 5 frequently asked questions that I think everybody should be asking when talking about nursing conferences, because we are talking about nursing. I am a nurse practitioner, so we're going to keep it focused on nursing conferences. Although I must admit, as a new podcaster, I would love to go to a podcasting conference. So I have to keep that one in my back pocket, so in the future when when people pay me to do this, yeah. Anyway, moving on. 5 FAQs for nursing conferences in general. First question is, are all conferences the same? Do they all have the same format? This conference had a pre-conference, which you could pay for, and it was a full day affair, 2 separate pre-conferences, and then a main conference. Then there was breakout session day, and then there was a final main conference. So it was like a total of 4 days. And the last conference that I scheduled, sorry, but I have someone from the Twitter feed who's commenting on my wish to go to podcasting conferences, and the Adam is saying that podcasting conferences aren't all they're cracked up to be, that they're more about the money. But I would have to argue that a lot of conferences are all about the money, since we all have to pay a bit to get there. So good point, Adam. Very good point. So back to my first FAQ. Are all conferences the same? Are the formats the same? And I don't remember the way NTI was formatted, but there were scheduled events within the overall schedule that were more than just conference lectures. And I'm wondering if other conferences have things outside of lecture break, lecture break, or speaker break, something break. Is there something more than just spouting off material? That's my first question. Second question is, how many people leave a conference and say to themselves, did I just pay for that? And I'm not talking about just with money. Talking about with my time, because I don't know about you, but my time is valuable. It's my time. I'd like to spend it wisely, figuratively and facetious. I mean, what's the other term for figuratively? The brain fart. But if I'm going to pay the money, I'm not only giving you valuable monetary, losing my train of thought, giving you valuable money, but on top of that, here I'm giving you my time. So I would like to come away from that experience going, that was worth the money. I am not saying yay or nay to the conference that I just attended. I'm simply saying that is a question you should be asking yourself at the end of a conference. Can you say, I'm happy I paid for that? I'm happy I went. I got something out of it. I'm going to go back to where I came from and share what I've experienced. Third question I have, FAQ. Do other conferences have what I don't know how it's the term, but a meet and greet? Do they have mixers? Do they make them a piece of the schedule, not just a lecture? Do they have something social so that you can interact with your fellow conference attendees? And not only just the conference attendees, but the speakers. Wouldn't that be cool? Is that you're getting to listen to a well-informed presenter, or they might even be a high profile, or in your particular profession, very popular speaker. What if they had a meet and greet session one time during the conference, in a 4-day or 5-day conference? What if they had a evening or a luncheon, something where it was a meet and greet mandatory mixer? Okay, let's not make it mandatory, but an optional mixer. This, I remember, was offered in the NTI from this past year, and I don't know if that's an every year thing or not, because I haven't gone yet, but I think the whole mixer thing is huge, because we end up getting into those cliques again, and nursing is very cliquish, sadly. You find you attend a conference with coworkers or friends, and you stay within that huddle the entire time. And then if you're a social butterfly, which I'm not in person a very social butterfly, but if you're a social butterfly and you can easily, introduce yourself, break the ice, and talk with fellow attendees that are sitting next to you, or that you see when you have your continental breakfast, then, that's how you meet and greet. But how can we bridge the gap so that we're ensuring that the attendees benefit with some networking in some way, even if it's just on a social level? Hey, at the conference, hook up on Twitter, friend them on Facebook, whatever the case may be. But you gotta find a way to bridge that gap instead of just all business. Gotta find a way of networking. And so number 4 of my FAQs kind of builds upon that whole mandatory mixer is, what about an area where you could drop off your business card for one reason or another? I know that in other professions, they have this little drop off, or a table where you can literally throw your business card onto a table. And if someone by perchance likes your business card, then they take it, and boom, free networking, just like that. If you don't like the business card, you leave it there for the next person. Or when you're at the table and you're giving or taking a business card, it's another opportunity to network with somebody, rubbing shoulders with somebody. Hey, why are you at the business card table? What are you hoping to look for? How is that not happening? Or maybe it just didn't happen at the conference I was at. And finally, and holy irony on this one is, are all conferences utilizing social? Let's try it again. Are all conferences utilizing social media to its maximum potential? Does your conference have a hashtag? Does your conference have a Facebook page? Does your conference have a Twitter handle? Does your conference have an Instagram account or Google Plus? Take your pick. What about Snapchat? Untapped potential there. Every conference should be utilizing social media. Why can't I say social? Social. All of a sudden developing a lisp here. Utilizing social media to its maximum potential. I sadly attended a conference where there was a hashtag that you utilize, that they give you in the pamphlet when you sign up. They give it to you in the emails that you get when your confirmation. Use this hashtag, la 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 la. And if you use this hashtag, I even think that they offered like some sort of discount on the next conference you wanted to attend. And me being the social media addict, I just abused it. And quite honestly, I think I was one of 3 people that utilized the hashtag. It was fairly disappointing. I was expecting, here's another opportunity to network with your fellow conference attendee, your fellow nurses, is to utilize that hashtag. Thank you, Jimmy Kimmel and JT. Yes, those of you who are listening to this, I'm holding up the hashtag symbol using my 2 fingers on the video there. But I was sorely disappointed at the idea of not utilizing social media to its max, because I know that there have been other conferences from other nursing conferences and very, very specific other medical conferences that utilized hashtags very, very well, because I actually never attended the conference, but followed the hashtag just to monitor and dip in on the conversation and the topics they were discussing. So it all goes back to the engagement, engaging your audience, engaging the attendees, engaging your profession to bring attention to where you're at. Hashtags. Hey, I'm over here. Let's talk. Got to start having more dialogue, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Ergo, why I sit in front of the microphone and talk to you now. Why I blog. Why on my Facebook page, my personal page, I do videos. Why Emily and I created this podcast. Why we have the website. Why we have the multiple social media accounts is to engage with other nurses, to tell the stories that need to be told, to listen to the stories that want to be told. It's to maximize that engagement. So, number 5, utilizing social media. On a whole, this particular conference that I went to, I truly did enjoy myself. Wouldn't have mattered where it was. Just so happens this one was in Vegas. I will say that the first day I went down there, which ironically was on Halloween, during the day, the morning of Halloween, I was expecting Halloween in Vegas to be a little cray-cray, and it was like any normal, I guess, because Vegas is always cray-cray, so Halloween's no exception. So, but not only was it Halloween, but it was also daylight saving time. Saving, not savings, saving, daylight saving time. And I ended up having a 28-hour day on Halloween this year. Let that sink in for a second. 28-hour day. I live on the West Coast. I flew to, Jesus, let me try that again. I don't even know where I live. I live on the East Coast. Yes, I live on the East Coast. Let me say that one more time. I do know where I live. I really do. I live on the East Coast, Eastern Standard Time. And I flew over to the West Coast. 3-hour time change. So I gained 3 hours in my day. And then daylight saving time, clocks fall back. So I gained another hour. So my 24-hour day turned into a 28-hour day. Can I tell you how well I slept Saturday into Sunday? This episode has been brought to you by jet-lagged post-nursing conference nurse practitioner Sean. Talked about some hot topics that were on my mind after attending my first quote-unquote official conference. As always, for those of you who are listening to this podcast post-production as a download, thank you, and thank you. For those of you who might catch this on the flip side on our website, might actually listen and or watch it on Blab, could catch it as the embeddable video on our website when I post it as a blog post. You can check us out on our website, thechangeofshift.com. We're on iTunes. We're on Stitcher. We're on Twitter, Ask the Cos, ASKTHECOS. Twitter handle, Ask the Cos. And we're on Facebook, The Change of Shift. And of course, we're on YouTube, also The Change of Shift. And if I didn't mention already, you can find us on iTunes and Stitcher, The Change of Shift podcast. Thank you for listening. All my nursing peeps out there, love to hear what your thoughts are on your experiences with nursing conferences. We are currently eagerly wanting guests on our podcast. So if you have a story to tell or have an interesting topic you'd like to share, hit us up. You can find me out on the internet. You can find Emily out on the internet. We're on our website. I'm on my website, SeanDent.com. Sean P. Dent on Twitter. You can find Emily over at Emily J. Bennett on Twitter. And of course, you can find both of us on our website, thechangeofshift.com. As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to listen to us. And remember, check your own pulse first.